Welcome to the Grace Mobility Podcast. My name is Jane Riley, the General Manager for Grace Mobility. Mobility has become a hot topic for discussion, particularly in recent times, facing the challenges of organisations, particularly addressing employees, new hires, relocating domestically and internationally. We certainly have seen some changes here at Grace. And today we'll be asking our special guest, Deborah de Cerff from the Employee Mobility Institute, fondly referred to as TEMi, sharing her insights and predictions in the mobility industry. Welcome, Deb.
Thanks, Jane. It's lovely to be here.
It's lovely to see you. So global mobility, let's be honest. When you were 10 years old and somebody said, what would you like to be when you grow up, Deb? What are you thinking? I'm sure you didn't say, a global mobility specialist.
Absolutely not.
What did you want to be when you grew up, and how did you end up in mobility?
Oh, gosh. I wanted to be a lawyer.
Ooh.
I loved contract law at school, and I thought, that's me. I'm going to go and do that. So I left school. I actually went on an exchange program. Went over to the United States, spent 12 months there. That was my gap year after VCE.
Very cool.
I know, it was pretty fun, actually. I didn't do very much work, but I came back with a whole new slant on what the world was like. And if you think back to sort of the early 1980s, we didn't do a huge amount of travel. Having a gap year was just unheard of. So having spent some time in the States, I came back and I gave up on the idea of law. I went and worked at a lawyer's office for a while, and I was surrounded by paperwork and books and it was so dry. I thought, no, this is not for me.
You.
No, so I applied for a job. It was an office manager role for a brand new company that was owned by Brambles. It was called Relocation Management Services. It had never been, it was a new industry. Nobody had ever heard of mobility at that stage. And I applied for the office manager role, got it, and oh my gosh, that was just the beginning of a 35-year career.
35 years.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
incredible. And the fact it was relocation back then, and now we've had relocation, corporate relocation, now it's mobility.
Wow, that's it. It was so different. I mean, when I think about it, we created the destination services piece of the equation. So companies were moving people in and out of Australia. There was no support being provided. So RMS, we basically created home sale programs and property management programs and housing price differentials and destination services, and did all of that and went out to the marketplace and said, hey, it's about time you started looking after your expatriate population coming into the country, which they did. They embraced it. We loved it. So I did that for quite some time. And then we launched into the international arena and actually did the international side of things, creating an international network. So yeah, just a very different place, very different time.
That's incredible. It's almost, if you consider the longevity and the journey of corporate relocation, there's a really good chance you were one of the innovators, particularly in Australia back then, given that you've designed programs and policy and...
Yeah, I seem to have, yes, I don't think it was deliberate, but I seem to have been at the beginning of each phase. So we'd started it at that, and then I decided that there's this big gap, tax, immigration, international HR, none of it had been, again, really combined into a holistic service. So I went over to KPMG and talked to them for a while, and we decided to create a global mobility advisory practice. So that was sort of the start of this holistic view of, how do you integrate all elements of the puzzle of mobility into one outsourced service delivery model. So
it's incredible, and that's almost what we have today. A little further advanced. So we're almost sitting with the superstar, the innovator of global mobility, Deborah de Cerff.
No, I don't think so.
I think we are. And I mean, obviously 35 years, that is quite remarkable. And you would have seen, as you highlighted, significant changes and advances. What have you seen? And we hear constantly about transformation and the new norm and so forth. I'm so sick of hearing the new norm. But how do you see the future of mobility?
Look, we've seen so many changes. You're right. When I started in the industry, the fax machine was the new, innovation. And we were so excited that we could actually get an answer in half an hour and not 7 days for the post. I think over the years, this whole concept of email and an immediate response through to automation and animation and process enhancements that technology has brought has been absolutely, mind-boggling. And I think we've only scraped the surface.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the TEMi members the other day, and they were talking about having an AI entity that's got its own living, breathing personality, and it will start delivering messages for its organisation. I'm thinking, wow, haven't we come such a long way?
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, artificial intelligence and how it can replicate the human behaviour. No, that's quite remarkable. I think, so with that progression and looking futuristic, I listened on a webinar not too long ago where they suggested that 73% of HR and mobility practitioners rely on spreadsheets to map and keep track of their global workforce. And of course at Grace we have the My Grace platform, which integrates all of the mobility online and through advanced technology. It's quite remarkable, but understanding that the actual HR practitioners don't have access to that type of technology. Do you see that something that started to transform and change?
It has. Look, I'm not surprised. If I think about the traditional expatriate population, it was a very small portion of an organisation's global footprint. And so trying to get the dollars required for what is a really complex set of technological changes. When we think about global mobility, we're thinking about tax, we're thinking about occupational health and safety, we're thinking about immigration legislation, relocation logistics, third-party vendor management. We've got so many things, contracts, we've got so many things that are wrapped up into a really good technology tool that for a very small footprint, HR had a really difficult time building a solid business case. But I see that changing now. I think as we are driving more towards making really data-informed decisions, where we're looking at culturally diverse workforces and globally dispersed workforces even more so, having the ability to track where our employee population are, regardless of whether they're mobile or not. It doesn't really matter. I think there seems to be a greater appetite now for organisations to really understand and embrace technology. They're still looking to their suppliers, like Grace, to provide a customised platform that they can leverage, and I don't think that will change. I think, if anything, there'll probably be a greater reliance on that, but they'll be definitely looking for data-driven decision-making capabilities these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And in line with that, do you think that will bring about, I know particularly when we speak to assignees and obviously the employees of our corporate clients, because considering to Y-Gen and your millennials, they're very much used to relying upon technology. So for them, there's almost an expectation that the organisation will embrace that. And we're seeing more and more of that. Almost, it's not so much a demand, it's more of it's their norm. So have you seen that organisations have worked in the technology area more so, particularly, I guess, given the COVID and working from home and those challenges? Have you seen that that's an area that's advanced more than others?
Yeah, very much so. I think this whole concept of collaboration, global collaboration, we are now even more borderless in many respects from a communication point of view than we've ever been. Last year was so exciting. Pandemic aside, from a technological perspective, I was really excited. All of a sudden we could do our Zoom catch-ups and not have to fly to wherever to have this meeting that seemed to previously you couldn't do without it. You had to be on a plane. You had to be emitting all these wonderful greenhouse gas emissions. Now we can actually just pick up a link and talk. We can communicate with Teams. We can use Slack. We've got so many different tools out there. And I think with a multi-generational workforce these days, technology is just going hand in hand with how we do business. To me, that's the biggest change. It's the change of customer experience, employee well-being, and this ability to collaborate globally in a very seamless way, that technology is just opening up the doors for us.
Wow, love that. So concise and succinct the way you put that. I think global collaboration and utilising technology in order to facilitate that is gold. And it's so refreshing, let me say, to hear somebody say how exciting last year was.
I know, it sounds really bad. I really feel a bit bad about that.
I think we live in an ideal world, we embrace, we acknowledge all of what has happened as a consequence. But I think also at Grace, we have also embraced and pivoted and leveraged to ensure that we provide an improved customer experience in spite of. And it's awesome to hear you say that too, with a big smile on your face. And I think it's really interesting. You speak of the technology. I recently, obviously, Grace is a huge advocate and sponsor of TEMi. And I know that you've even pivoted and you're using a different platform for your virtual networking, which is so exciting. So tell us a little bit about TEMi. Tell us how it's come about. And I mean, certainly we're involved in the networking. We embrace your trainings. We're obviously a sponsor, and the awards, the Gala Awards. The Gala Awards. Tell us about TEMi.
Look, TEMi is all about people. It's a relationship-based organisation. I think at the very heart of all organisations, I believe, and I think a lot of people, I think you'll agree with me, that people are the lifeblood of and heart and soul of a company. So after decades working across sort of small, medium and large multinational organisations, it became really evident to me that organisations that embraced and nurtured a culturally diverse workforce were going to be the organisations that were actually going to succeed. They were the ones that were going to be achieving great things, and they were also going to be the ones that were going to change society. And that was really what drove TEMi. That's where TEMi came in. We are the link that connects global workforce management professionals together so that they can actually navigate all of the same challenges. You know, we've all got the same issues. We can hear from thought leaders, we can share stories, we can learn new ways of doing things. And you're right, last year was a great opportunity for us to actually pivot and change the way we do things to enhance that experience. TEMi's focus really is solely on dedicated to supporting, connecting and recognising the world of talent management and the global workforce management practitioners and suppliers. We can't forget the suppliers like Grace, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. TEMi's all about it's one voice. I believe purely, I really do strongly believe that the power comes from one voice. And if we can come together as a community and actually support each other, then we will be able to make even more change to society and also to our organisations.
Oh, well said. And as a participant and a sponsor, we absolutely love the TEMi experience, the network, the collaboration, the one voice bringing it all together. And we sit side by side at networking events and speak along with our clients and the assignees even, and yourself and some other industry specialists, and sharing the voice and sharing the opinions about some of the challenges and highlights and policy and what's happening in regards to all the cancellations of airfares and how we're moving people. So
sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't have to be highly technical. It can actually just be the people experience and having those relationships and being there and being supported. And I think, with Grace's support, TEMi's been able to bring that sort of community feel that it's not just about profits, it's people before profits. It's about looking at how do we recognise people's efforts and how do you say, thank you to your staff members, how do you upskill them and continue to help them develop in their careers. And it's by leveraging the thought knowledge that's out there. I think it's sort of like a collective brain that we have when we bring everybody together. Once a month we bring you all together.
Brain. Well, absolutely. For those of you who are listening and you haven't engaged with TEMi, I would absolutely strongly suggest that you do. It's invaluable in terms of that experience, and certainly enjoying the benefits of the training and the networking and so on. And we cannot let you go today, Deb, without, I know it's secret squirrel business, the illustrious TEMi Awards, but you have to give us a little tidbit. Tell us something.
Just a little bit. Well, The big day, 12th of November, 2021. I am very excited to say we will be live at the Victorian Arts Centre.
Oh,
very excited. It's a national event, and I'm just really proud of this event. I'm proud of the sponsorship and the support that Grace have done, along with our other founding partners. Everyone took a bit of a risk when we decided to launch this a few years ago. You know, it's like, well, nobody's ever done an awards program here in Australia, and we've never ever really got together and celebrated people's achievements. So
Yes.
the TEMi Awards is just a pretty spectacular moment. It's very uplifting. Over the last 18 months, our industry has definitely gone through some challenges, certainly with the fallout from the global pandemic, the escalating mental health issues that have been facing the HR and also the expat community, let alone the physical health challenges that came with having, you know, individuals offshore in places where they may or may not have been able to have the support that they needed.
of course.
You know, I think this year it's going to be so exciting to be able to actually bring the best of the best into the room from around Australia and New Zealand and also in parts of Asia, bring them together and say, hey, congratulations, you've done a fantastic job, and we as a community want to recognise you. So very excited. And yes, I do have some surprises in store, which I'm not going to share today.
Oh, okay.
But you do have to be there.
We will be there. Well, Grace will obviously be a proud sponsor again, and we very much look forward to the TEMi Awards, and we really appreciate your time today, Deb. It's thank you for joining the Grace Mobility podcast, very insightful, and we will obviously be at the TEMi Gala dinner in November. Very much look forward to it, and please obviously share our podcast. Let's share the word about TEMi, and let's embrace your beautiful community and the collaboration that it brings. So
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you very much, and we hope
Pleasure.
you'll join us again in the future with our Grace Mobility podcast.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
Yay! And thank you to our valued customers and our wider audience. And remember to subscribe to the Grace podcast so you can listen to our regular updates and episodes on all things moving, global mobility, information management, records management, and business services. Grace, always more.